you're interested in the community and you have a little bit of inkling of history, there's a lot to be learned, all kinds of history from the town when it originally started on the southeast part of Nora Springs when it was a stagecoach stop. That's a lot of history, you know, and it's happened over a long period of time, but it's kind of amazing when you think about it.
Well, I remember where we had 3 grocery stores, and now people can't hardly imagine that. Every Wednesday night there was a band concert, and everybody would come to town, and then after the band concert, my mother would sit in the car and we'd watch the people. That was real excitement. My dad was usually down at the pool hall visiting with the friends there.
It was much more active than it is now. We had many businesses. We had a theater, we had restaurants, a hotel at one time. We had a store that housed clothing, blankets, sheets, anything that you might want.
And we had a roller skating rink.
What really made Nora Springs is having the land donated to get 2 railroads in town. We have 2 separate railroads, and that's what really brought the town alive.
Well, one of the big ones was Kluver's grocery store, and it had groceries in the back and dry goods and shoes and everything you needed, so we didn't really have to go to Mason City. Now that store is moved up the street, and we have, luckily, it's rented out, and we have a gift store in there. We had 2 or 3 taverns at one time. We had an implement store, always a post office, and we had Interstate Power. That was on the corner. We had a Lutheran church, a Christian church, a Methodist church, and an EUB church. And then they merged with the Methodists in the 80s. And now we have just a Methodist and a Lutheran church in town.
When I was growing up, we could go to the movie theater, and there's some seats right behind me from the theater. The corner drugstore, after school, we always had to go down and have a cherry Coke.
When I first came here, all of Main Street had businesses. You name it, it was there. At one time back in, I think it was in the 20s, there was more businesses in Nora Springs than Mason City.
You'd come to town, there were stores up and down both sides of Main Street. You could find about anything you wanted, everything from a bakery to buy a car or clothing, shoe store. Everything was here with the big box stores, that type of thing. That's changed. And mobility with better transportation. There's not a lot of manufacturing right in this area. Well, the thing I really remember, right east of Nora Springs, Francis Sherman had a herd of, I think it was like 50 buffalo. They were on both sides of the road, and it was really impressive when you came into town. It was like going into the Old West. You saw these buffalo wandering in the pasture, in between the trees or whatever.
I was very lucky to have John Adams in my graduating class. Well, I went all through school with him, and he was always called John R. instead of just John until he grew up.
It's just a house that really interests me because it was made in 1939. He got these plans from a house in Minneapolis. He liked that, the way it was set up, so he basically bought the plans, brought it here, and had this house built. It's the only house I've ever seen where you can go upstairs from the living area, like your living room, and the kitchen with a central space going upstairs. I take care of it. I keep it clean. I take care of all like the furnace, everything, and just watch over it. I'm down here about once a week, year round.
And a couple of years ago, we decided we were going to paint the storm windows. There's 20, I believe it's 26 windows or 27 windows in that house. There aren't 2 of them the same size. So when you take the windows off, you got to number them so you get them back. They're close, but they don't quite fit. It's a very personalized, unique home. I mean, they designed it, had it drawn up and built.
I did not know John Adams. When I was growing up, he was older than I, but he's been a wonderful addition to our community. He really wasn't active in the community necessarily, but he was a presence, always. The few times that I met John, he was very polite. You would never know that he was a wealthy man, very common, very down to earth.
I think he was probably the original entrepreneur of this area. He was into the, banking, stockbroker to real estate. And I think he was just the right person at the right time to accumulate everything he had.
I think he'd be proud of the Historical Society. I can't imagine that he would complain too much about it, because it is helping Nora Springs.
Well, I kind of knew John. He was older than I was, but it's been just a godsend for this community, because the scholarships that he has provided for, and we built a bridge over the dam. And just things like that. The swimming pool was redone, and the foundation gives directly to us every year. And it's $5,000 that just maintenance. We've got 3 buildings here, and they all need work.
Besides this home, we have what we call the Memories Building, and that is just packed full of older things from the town. Three buildings down there, which is a couple blocks away, way downtown.
Otherwise, everything in here is just exactly the way it was when we walked in for the very first time. Most of the things that were in the older museum, which was the telephone office downtown, are in the basement. We have school pictures, we have a school room, we have a room down there that houses business memorabilia. There's military uniforms down there. There is some scouting information down there. It's unbelievable, really, the things that have been saved in our community. And it is strictly Nora Springs. We don't go out of Nora Springs for any of our exhibits.
Well, if anybody donates anything to the Historical Society, then I have to log it in, tag it, and find an appropriate place in our 3 buildings to put the item. Also, I have to give them a paper which gives us the ownership of the item forever. Oh, mercy, that's, well, anything from pottery, a lot of pottery that comes in. I like the records that come in, like if somebody gives us something of all the old businesses. I think that's good for people to have here.
When young people come, we hear nothing but laughing and giggling and, oh, there's my mom, there's my grandma, there's my aunt. It's a real focal point for young people especially. That's something that they're always interested in. The older ones look at the architecture, the wainscoting around the ceiling, the wool carpet that's been here forever, all the collections, the different things that have been given and are still here. It's just jewel. It's just, I think it's just a really important part of our history.
I'm old, but I'm not as old as the machinery. It's all horse-drawn, buggies, sleighs, things that you would have seen at the turn of the century.
When I first started farming in 1978, the blacksmith shop was still open here, and the old gentleman that ran it, Arnold Volkman was his name. He'd come to work every morning with an old Chevy pickup. He would do things like put bearings in farm machinery and stuff like that, and he could do just about anything if he really put his mind to it, and he had, all the tools to do it. But if you went in there and asked him to do something right then, he wouldn't be too cooperative. But if you said, hey Arnold, can you fix this for me sometime? Lots of times he'd have it fixed for you left town if you came back. He was that way.
And Arnold was also very active in the fire department. He built a lot of the pump cradles. They'd start with a basic truck and he would add equipment to it. That was back in the time before a lot of the fire trucks now, they're all manufactured. You just tell them what you want. It's like ordering a car. But back then, It's still a volunteer fire department, but he built a lot of the equipment that they used, modified a lot of the equipment that they used, and he was real proud of that, and rightfully so. Yeah.
And Arnold's dad and his uncles were the blacksmiths before. On the one door is his apron and his hat, just like it was when he left it.
But you walk through that memories buildings and you see some of the things that they used to use and you think, how did they ever get it done? There's a lot of things in that building that it's amazing how, of course, they had more labor at that time. The average farm was anywhere from 80 to 160 to 200 acres. Well, now it might be 5,000 acres. So you have less people involved, bigger equipment, more modern equipment, and it's really amazing over time how it's changed and how they got things done.
They have done a whole lot. We wouldn't have this nice swimming pool if it wasn't for the John Adams Foundation. And hopefully we can get enough money so they can have a golf course in town. They've just really helped the school a lot. I guess we can't even imagine, knowing them years back, that we would benefit so much from them.
And of course the Adams Foundation funded a lot of this, and the house and buying this, the blacksmith shop. Since I've been a member, we've had a lot of projects that we're involved in. And
that basically supports everything in town that gets grants from there, and we could not operate without our grants and money from the Adams Foundation. It's a wonderful thing. I don't know how other towns even would go about having something like this without him.
Unbelievable. Just the scholarships alone that are offered every year are just phenomenal. This year alone, 3 students received $10,000 for 4 years. So they each received $40,000 in scholarships. And then there probably were another dozen to 15 who received $5,000 a year for 4 years. So you can see just that amount of money, what a difference it makes.
I mean, if you went around town, everything from the new bridge at the dam to our new building uptown, the wagon shop, everything is from grants from there, and there's just no way of doing things without somebody like that to pay for it.
I guess the main thing that we've retained is the small hometown community atmosphere. That's the mainstay, I guess. Businesses can come and go, but it's nice to have the community where you know people.
Preservation. If we can't get younger people, I know you've noticed some of us are getting older. I'm like the youngest person in society right now that goes to the meetings. And I'm hoping that if we get this done, get the equipment to put like in the library, people actually go up and check us out. We need younger people to just basically carry on, because if it doesn't carry on, then this is all gone. And there'll be no history of Nora Springs.
Well, hopefully it will continue way past the years I'm in it. So hopefully it will always continue.
Money isn't the object. Helpers. People to come to the meeting, help with ideas, help with the projects. Even when I'm dead and gone, I'd like to see this go on for 50 years, 100 years. That would be my thought on it.
Nora Springs is a bedroom community. We all know that. Most people work in Charles City, Mason City, that type of thing. But you know everybody in town pretty much. They know you. It's a friendly community. We've got a wonderful swimming pool that our children flock to every day in the summer. It's an agricultural community, a lot of farming. It's just a very comfortable community to live in. And when we have special places like this, it just adds to it. It just makes it special for all of us.
Right, the first thing a person should do, like if you're new to the area, just walk around. Go up to the park, go down where the new bridge is, across the river. Take a look at the historical house. You can learn a lot just by visiting the community, and you're going to bump into somebody that you're going to visit with. It's a small town.
A town will finally just disappear if there is an interest in keeping it alive.